So actually, if I had known better, right, like if I was more educated in real estate, so I know military members, they are just like buying a house at every duty station because you have the benefit of using the VA loan.
Welcome to the Healthy Investor Podcast with Bob Mastroianni, where you and I will learn from successful real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and other highly driven individuals about their journey and the healthy habits and routines that play an integral part of their growth. All right, welcome back to the Healthy Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Mastroianni. Today I have with me Lupei Chou. Lupei is an active duty naval officer with 20 years of leadership, logistics, government contracting, and project management experience in the defense industry. She's completed multiple deployments at sea and proudly served her country in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. Lupei's real estate investing journey began with the purchase of her first single-family home in 2018, which opened her eyes to the power of real estate. From there, she quickly scaled to the large commercial multifamily properties by leveraging creative financing and strategic partnering. This allowed her to grow her business and investment portfolio with greater efficiency, scalability, and profitability. Lupei holds a portfolio of $7 million in residential and commercial properties in 6 states. She is passionate about financial literacy, education, and empowerment. Her mission is to make real estate investing accessible to everyone, and Lupei leads the Real Estate InvestHER meetup in Capital Region. Lupei, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. So I want to deep dive into some of just read your bio and some of the things. So I guess first and foremost, thank you for your service. I am a grateful citizen of the service that you provide, and I'm always grateful for our military and what you do. It's very interesting to me, and I've spoken to a few investors who also come from a military background, and what made you decide, after almost 20 years in the military, that it was time to look at some other option for your, investing and for your goals?
Yeah. So interestingly, I think it was not really intentional. Like me getting into real estate really was kind of happened after a series of events. In 2018, my husband and I returned from overseas assignment. So we were sent back to DC by the Navy. And at that time, we had a house in California, which we bought about almost 10 years ago. And then it's been a rental ever since, right, for about 6-7 years. We wanted to get a home here. So we put that house, for sale. And so like this whole time, like nobody was really looking at the value of the property or, appreciation or anything. Like I was just happy somebody's paying my mortgage. Okay. And then like, I don't have to be out of pocket. So, but to my surprise, like the house has appreciated so much, over the period of, I would say about 8-9 years. And being in the military allows you to actually qualify the sale still as your primary residence because of your duty station moves. So essentially no tax, right? Because we're selling out primary. So that was like the first thing that really opened my eyes, like the power of the real estate and like, hold the property over time, how it appreciates. So this really kind of got me interested. So from there, we started to just, explore learning more. Yeah, but no, it's really happened by accident.
Well, that's interesting. And I guess, is it common for military personnel when they're stationed overseas to find a tenant, or do you find that more often than not, people would just sell the house, offload the house, and look for something new when they're coming back.
So actually, if I had known better, right? Like if I was more educated in real estate, so I know military members, they are just like buying a house at every duty station because you have the benefit of using the VA loan. And so everywhere you go, it's kind of like, I know people own multiple houses because they've been, like moved from duty station to duty station. And I've never done that. I mean, we bought one house, a while back, and but that would be like a really great strategy, I think, if you are kind of well versed in that, and being in the military is it's a great advantage.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So then you bought your first property and you decided to move into multifamily. It seems like you moved into larger multifamily properties pretty quickly. How did that come to be? How did you find it, and what made you want to move into larger multifamilies?
Yeah, so we didn't do that like right away. We actually bought single family. We invested, so with the proceeds of that sale, we invested in single family. We actually, I joined the coaching program, just like a general real estate coaching program, and started investing, buy and hold. We got up to 6 doors, single family. And then of course, when you get to like that number, that's when you start feel a lot of like limitations, right? Like in terms of like you probably maxed out on loans or how much you can borrow. You probably don't have any more down payments, and it's like, how do you grow from here? So my first multifamily was kind of like around the same time, because there was the opportunity for me to do a joint venture on a small multifamily 18 unit with some of the students in my coaching program. So yeah, that's how I got into the multifamily. And it has been a much better business model for me because of the partnership. Because if you have a full-time job, it's just a lot to manage, like, right, all this, like your property or a purchase and managing them. So I really enjoy having partners and be able to share the responsibilities.
Well, we come across some similarities here because, one of the things that moved me to, now that I'm looking for larger multifamily properties and moving down that path, is that, my wife and I made it to the point where we had 10 doors. And I'll never forget walking out of that last settlement, and the mortgage broker said to me, "Okay, that's it, you're done."
Yeah.
We sort of maxed out on the amount of mortgages that we would be eligible for. And then, as you had mentioned, it becomes more difficult with down payment, right? Because every down payment is going to be down payment from my money when we're in the smaller residential world. And that pushed me to say, okay, I don't want to have this feeling anymore. There has to be another way. I know that there are people with significantly more than 10 units. So what is the way? And then you mentioned working on a team from a larger multifamily perspective. And that is really one of the big assets that I'm, quite frankly, looking forward to the most, because a lot of what we've done has been individually. And maybe you could talk a little bit about the difference between the 6 residential doors that you had versus moving into that larger multifamily property, a team that works on the day-to-day of it, and sort of shared responsibilities, right?
Yeah, so I think, at 6 doors, like we could probably still like get a couple more loans, right? Like, like get a couple more houses. But I think, like me personally, I was maxed out, like for my time and energy dealing with, like the property managers, the tenants, and everything else that's going on. I just didn't even want to take on anymore, even if there's a potential, right? So so when I when I started doing my first group project, a joint venture, of course, like, right away, like you are able to share the responsibility, and you're able to leverage everybody's strength,
Hmm.
depends on what you're good at. And so that is just a really enjoyable experience for me because, being in the military, I think one of the things you learn from early on is really about teamwork and how to work with like your fellow members of the military or sailors, and for a bigger cost, right? Achieve a
Hmm.
bigger cost. So that was like right in my alley. I love it. I love my working with partners, especially if you have the right partners. I love the energy that when people come together. So yeah, big game changer right there. Never going back to single family.
Well, that's great. So I see here that you lead the real estate InvestHER meetup in the capital region. Now, I've heard of InvestHER. However, I've just seen some things on Instagram about InvestHER. I'd love to learn a little bit more about it and tell me a little bit more about that meetup.
Yeah, so InvestHER is really it's a big network for women to connect in the real estate space. It's a great community, and I think there are over 50 meetups in the US, right? So like,
Wow.
yeah, like depends on where you are, your location. So like here we have one in DC, we call the capital region. So I think for anybody, you can pretty much find one that's close to you and just join the group. It's free. It's just a community for women to connect and share and learn, grow, making friends. I have also done deals with the ladies in the group, both real estate deals and business transactions outside real estate, such as, we had the lady who's a photographer. We've used her business to, to take, like we did a headshots, like for the group. We had a lady who is specialized in education. So we are working with her currently to create a course. So it's just a great it's a great place for connections.
Well, that's great. I heard of InvestHER recently. I think there may have been a larger conference. Was there a big InvestHER conference?
Yeah, I think it's happening right now. Like literally, like the, today, tomorrow,
Oh,
Saturday.
really? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I remember seeing some messages about it on social media that InvestHER was having a conference, and that was really the first I had heard of it. And I guess I didn't realize that there were several locations throughout the country. It's something I'm going to have to look a little bit further in, and quite frankly, it's information I'm going to pass along to my wife. I didn't realize that there were so many network locations about it. So very cool. It's always great to have a community where you can meet people and you're like-minded, you're going to network, you're going to help each other out, and that's really cool that you have that. And so how did you become involved from a leadership standpoint, from helping to actually organize the events?
So, all this stuff is really just volunteer based.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes so how I got involved was the previous leaders, the two ladies, they were both relocating. So they were moving away from this area. So basically they were just looking for people to take over.
Okay.
So I did. My business partner Tiffany, who is another leader, and we have two other ladies that co-lead. The our meetup. So really, if you just want to get involved, it's kind of like put your name, in the hat.
Well, you were the lucky winner, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity. I mean, I guess like, it's kind of volunteer work, right? Like, but then it is rewarding to be able to have the opportunity to meet a lot of people and just organizing different things, making new connections.
Well, from a
So,
networking and standpoint, when you become a leader of an organization like this, or even your local RIA groups or something, you sort of become an authority, and you also become the main connection. So you're the person that people associate with that. So when they have questions or they have an opportunity, they may come to you and say, "Hey, I have this opportunity. I don't know who to talk to," right? And
oh
uh,
yeah,
they're often
yeah,
coming
yeah.
to you first, which is great. It's a great position to be in. And also, obviously you're helping others, and you're providing value for a lot of other people there too. So that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. It's a great group, and we have fun. We do both like the online events, person events.
Okay.
We go for wine tasting, we do brunch. It's fun.
Excellent. So I have to tell you, and before we came on, Lupe and I realized that we have several friends in common, and we have, in the world of real estate, we have a decent amount of friends that we both know, and our paths haven't crossed yet. But what I didn't tell you is that for some time now, I've actually been following you on Instagram, long before we talked about this, and just this morning, I was looking at Instagram and I was actually showing your page to my daughter. I really love your reels. You provide value, you keep them fun, and they're really good. So you
Yeah.
are one of the people that I enjoy following on Instagram, and I like that you're often doing a short reel that's like 3 tips on this, boom, 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 or 4 reasons that I love this, boom, 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 and in your real estate and in your personal life, and it's really cool. You're a good follow, so I enjoyed that. I didn't tell you that before we started, so.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad the hard work is paying off.
Yes, it is difficult work. I'm sure you probably do. Um do you edit all of your own reels, or do you have assistance with that at this point?
So I recently hired a lady to manage my IG. I do it, but we collaborate.
Sure.
It's really helpful, how much it takes to push the content out and then
Yeah.
like to come up with ideas. So it's being helpful just having somebody to, like do things like creating things together, bounce ideas and talk things through. A lot of times she helped me with like drafting things. So, it's a lot easier when you just like, oh, make edits, then try to come up with something on like blank page, right? Like,
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. It's something I'm working on from my business perspective too. And, does it make sense for me to bring in another resource, even if it's a VA, or if it's someone who, just understands social media a little bit better than I do, and someone who has a little bit more experience with the editing portion of it. I mean, it's what I do for my podcast, right? Someone else does all of the editing and posts it out for me, and I do the part that I enjoy, which is having these conversations, trying to create value, and that portion of it. So I know that it's a bit of a I know that it's a bit of a bulk load of work doing those reels and keeping it fresh and keeping them going. And I enjoy your page. It really is a lot of valuable content.
thank you. I'll make sure to tell her. She'll be happy to hear that.
So I want to transition over. This is the Healthy Investor Podcast. So I like to talk to entrepreneurs, investors about healthy habits and routines, or any real habits and routines that you feel contribute to your success or your business success. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so we chatted about this earlier. So, I was a pretty serious runner for a number of years. So I see all the metal in the background. So I got a wall like that.
Great.
Used to, yeah, I used to do a lot of running. In college, I was doing a lot of swimming. Um, in the last year or so, Well, actually, I think COVID really changed that a bit for me. I kind of got into like biking, and then we got a Peloton, during
Hmm.
COVID. But most recently, I really have to change my routine because I'm 35 weeks pregnant. So
Excellent,
it's
excellent.
really,
Congratulations.
it's been really it's been quite a challenge for me to really figure out how to stay healthy and active, because I think when you are pregnant, well, I mean, you're not gonna really truly understand this, but your body is just like going through so much. And I think a lot of time you just feel tired. You
Mm,
just like exhausted. So I have to really push extra hard to kind of stay active. That's why I think the Peloton has been really helpful. And then really just gentle exercise, like walking, just get
mhm.
out there. Yeah, that's kind of been my goal. The standard has drastically dropped these
I
days.
well, I can absolutely understand that, and of course, priority number one is keeping you and the baby healthy, right?
We,
And
we're almost there, especially like now, like after entering the third trimester, I really feel like, ooh, this is like really limited what I can do. I'm out of breath very quickly, and I get tired very quickly. Um, I think the best exercise really is being like just riding the bike, walking, try to walk. I can't really run anymore,
sure.
but hopefully I'll get back like in 6 months.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned in your in passing as you went through each of the different stages, you mentioned running, you mentioned biking, you mentioned swimming. Have you ever considered triathlon?
I've no, I have never done one. Not
Okay.
a triathlon. No,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. That's one of my hobbies. Maybe when you're after the baby's born and you're looking for some additional free time, you mesh a couple of those things together and you can get out there and try a triathlon. You're in the DC area. There's actually a really big triathlon in Ironman, Maryland in September
Cool.
of every year. It's not too far from you.
Okay.
And the swim is in the Chesapeake.
Okay.
From what I hear of that triathlon, there's often a jellyfish issue
Oh.
at that time of year. That um,
So I have to tell you that I have a little bit fear um with swimming in the ocean, because I had this surfing accident in my 20s.
okay,
Um yeah, so I just kind of get really nervous now, like being in the ocean swimming, but I can do the pool.
okay. So I'll tell you, and I've told this story a few times on my podcast, so I won't. I'll give you the short version of it. But I didn't start triathlon until I was 40, and my first ocean swim I was 41, and up until that point I had some significant fears about being out in that part of the ocean, and now it's something that I'm proud that I've overcome that, because it's something that I love to do. But I absolutely understand it.
Yeah, I was never a good surfer, but I tried, okay, like when I in my younger days. But there was one time, the wave actually took me down, and then I had a surfboard on top of me.
Okay,
I couldn't even turn it over. And yeah, I was down there probably for like, I don't know, 10-15 seconds, may feel like forever.
sure, sure. I have not surfed yet. I've never tried it. Maybe I will soon. I don't know. Great. So I want to transition over to the final portion where we sort of ask the same questions and we'll elaborate on them as we go deeper. For you, what is your definition of success?
That's a good question. And I know that's a question I really think about, especially I think when you're doing your business, you're in real estate, right? You're trying to grow your portfolio. I think a lot of times we get distracted by other people's success, right? Because
Mm,
see so and so closing another, I don't know, 300, 400 units, or people just like doing deal after deal, 8, 10 deals a year. and it can be a distraction if you don't really have a clear goal on what you're in this space for. So that's something I do think about, and I really ask myself, why am I here? You know, what am I trying to achieve? I think ultimately for me, right, it's really about get to a place you can be passive, because I don't think, you know, I don't think like I want to have another job just to go from one job to another, right? Because I want to get to a place that where we can really have that, be more passive and be not have to spend as much time working, especially we are winding down with our military career. So I think the success for me would be really have the time freedom. And you don't have to be a millionaire for that, you know, you just have to know what you want in life. So I think that's a success for me, you know, if I'll be able to spend more time with family and loved ones and not spend 40 hours a week.
So I like that answer, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that you said there. I took a couple quick notes. So first thing is the other people's successes thing is a very interesting thing, right? In the world of, we were just talking about social media, and social media is everyone's highlight reel, right? They're showing you the best of the best, and this is the greatest part of my day so far, or this is the greatest part of my vacation, or, everything. And it's so easy to look at other people's successes in the world of social media and wonder if you're keeping up, and wonder if your success aligns with theirs, or, time frame, right? How come someone else took 3 months to take off and I'm a year and a half in, or right, those kind of things. So it's really important, I think, to stay grounded and to know what your journey is, right? And to enjoy your portion of the journey. Do you anticipate, is your goal to retire from the military and to have real estate be your full time?
Yeah, because I really like the aspect, when for real estate is you can kind of control your schedule, right? I mean, you run your own business, you can control your schedule. Right now I'm in the office, right, 40 hours a week. So I don't really have a control on that. So I definitely look forward to that, and of course, be able to spend more time with family, the new baby, just be there full time.
Okay. Is there a time frame that you're looking at for that? I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it will be very soon, because you read my bio, right? I have passed that 20-year threshold.
Yep.
So I'm looking at retiring potentially next year,
Oh, excellent.
2024. Yeah, and starting a new chapter.
Well, that's great. I know, I'm sure we have a similar mindset in this. You said the words, and you said the words in a podcast, and there's a certain accountability there, right? You felt like I'm going to say I'm going to retire in a year, and there's a certain accountability, but good for you. I'm sure you're going to do great. And, even just looking at what you've done so far, I know you're definitely on the path to it. So that's excellent. And, with a new baby coming along, it's perfect time for you to be able to make that transition.
Yeah, that's the main reason too. Yeah.
Great. So move on to question number 2. For someone who is new to investing in real estate, or even learning to focus on their goals or their path to success, can you give a good book recommendation?
I think this is a book everybody should read, because like a lot of times, right, it's not about how much money you make, but it's about how much money you actually keep after making that money, right? So like what I realized, now I'm in the real estate space, is like all these other things that comes with it, and you are forced to learn. And one of the biggest is taxes. So this book called Power of Zero is a great book. It teaches you about different ways to take advantage of different ways to reduce your tax. And so really it's about keeping more in your pocket. And it's a good book for anybody, you know, real estate or non-real estate, because it's really about tax education. And I know like this is not a topic people are excited about, but it's just so important. And I never really understood taxes until like right now, you know, like I'm forced to understand, to learn it. And it's been really eye-opening. So I recommend The Power of Zero.
I love that because I've not heard of that book. I actually, while you were speaking, I did a quick Google search just to figure out. And is that Power of Zero, right? David McKnight? Is that
Yeah.
the book? That's
I-
I just added that to
It's
my
about,
list. I love it. I love it because it's so true. I mean, it's not just about what you make, it's about what you get to keep. And the tax game, if you will, is definitely prevalent in the world of real estate, right? It's one of the big advantages. It's one of the reasons that many of us like to invest in real estate because of the tax savings. But
Mhm.
you really have to understand it, right? And you have to know.
And the book talks more. I mean, there's like, of course, real estate related topic there, but there's so many other products, you know, it's outside real estate, you know, but it's kind of like really look at your overall financial planning, and then like long-term, like retirement.
Hmm.
So it's a great book. I would highly recommend it, but then I read it and then talk to your financial advisor or your tax person, because a lot of these things, you know, it's kind of like when you read the book, but when it comes to executing, right, you have to have those professional experts on your team to really make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Sometimes we get book recommendations and I've read them or I've even heard of them. This one I haven't heard of yet, so I'm excited to add it to my list.
It was recommended by my ton
Okay.
to
Great.
me.
Great. So before we move on to the final question, I want to again thank you for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to meet. As I mentioned, I'm an avid fan. I'm a follower of your Instagram posts, and hopefully we'll get to meet up at one of our events where we have many mutual friends in the real estate industry. So hopefully we get to meet up soon. But how can we support you, and how can others reach out to you?
You can find me on social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, just under my name, Lupei Chou. Um, I'm under for my real estate business, I'm under Crown Capital. That's crowncapitalcorp.com, our website. And for the ladies, you know, if you want to connect, if you are in the DC area, even if you're not, because we also do virtual events, join us at InvestHER Capital Region. We have a Facebook group, and you'll be able to search it.
All right, great. So final question, if you can think back with me, before we go into the final question, I just had another thought. So you had mentioned before we came on that you were originally, you were born in Taiwan and then moved to California. So the final question is an age-related question. How old were you when you moved from Taiwan?
I was 17 years old. I did my last year high school here. Yeah.
Okay, great. So now I've already prefaced what the question is going to be, but now that's going to shine a slightly different light on, because the question asks about when you were 10 to 12 years old. So different point of reference. I'm excited to hear that. So if you could think back to me, to a young Lupei around ages 10 to 12 years old, knowing what you've learned so far on your journey, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to a young Lupei, or really any pre-teenage child, to help guide them towards success?
This is such a big question, right? Like I think about it because now I'm expecting a child, and I really think about this, you know, how do I teach him, you know? But you really, I think, you know, for a young child like that, it really starts with the basics, right? Like be responsible with money, because I do see a lot of teenagers, especially, right? don't really understand the value of money because they don't have to work for it. So it's like, it doesn't hurt, right? To just spend mom and dad's money. So like the value of money, I would say maybe understand how credit works, because if you don't start early, and it just takes time to really build that credit history, and really just have a general understanding how money works. I don't really think that's something even adult really understand, like how borrowing works, how interest rate works, and how just the basic things, right? Like I see even like adults are, getting in trouble with their credit card all the time, going from paycheck to paycheck, not having a budget. Well, maybe having a budget is a big one too. Starting with your allowance, right? Budget that.
I love that you went straight down the basics of understanding money, value of money, credit understanding, and even went into leverage, understanding leverage and how it works with banking. So great pieces of advice. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Lupei. I really appreciate it. Make sure you connect with her, crowncapitalcorp.com and the InvestHER Capital Region Network. She's Lupei Chou. I'm Bob Mastroianni. Thanks so much for listening in, and go out there and make it a great day. Thanks so much for joining me on the Healthy Investor Podcast. Check out the show notes for more information about connecting with our guest. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please head on over to iTunes and leave a positive rating and review. It would mean the world to me. I'm grateful for your support, and I wish you an abundance of success on your journey to healthy investments and a healthy life.